I think that's really important to teach the child to think for themselves rather than do the thinking for them. So,
right.
Yeah, exactly right. So, okay, so they've graduated basic adulting, they've gone on to adulting, and they've survived their 20s, they're into their 30s maybe, and I know I talk to a lot of people in their 30s who want to buy their first property, and we talk about, well, you don't have to have the 20% down payment, you can use other options, and we chat about that, but I always tell them, why would you want to contribute to your landlord's retirement when you can build your own wealth by buying something and getting started in real estate? But that's because I've been in real estate for so long, so I'm prejudiced. But when they go to be a graduate of adulting, that's awesome. So what would somebody in an adulting graduate be doing, and what age group would that cover?
So adulting, I think, is much later. So yeah, they're buying, the house is bought, the kids are raised, or you still may be raising kids or putting them through college. But I'm going on to even like the adulting graduate. Is that the level that you want to talk about now?
Yeah, that sounds good. Unless you have more to talk about on the adulting phase, and we flunked a grade and have to go back before we can graduate to something else. But talk about whatever you think is important in that adulting category.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the adulting does kind of wrap it up with your thinking about raising kids, and you're going to start putting them on their pre-adulting path. How are you saving for education? At this point, you're probably updating your powers of attorney. You might be looking at estate plans, and you're really managing your career at this point. What is it I want to achieve? How am I growing? And so I think that's kind of the bulk of what kind of manages into that adulting category.
Yes, yeah. And then by the time you graduate, you should have everything figured out so you then can be a master. Is that sounds like we have to go through the different phases and we can't really skip anything.
Right. Well, I guess to me, the graduate level is really, some people are in their 40s with this. I kind of was there in my 40s is, what am I going to do when I retire? I'm afraid of retirement. I'm still afraid of retirement. And so, I mean, to me, and I have to share this because I had a professional organizer talk I listened to that said, we spend the first half of our lives accumulating and the last half of our lives decluttering.
Yes.
And so I think the graduate level is that decluttering phase.
Especially when you find out, I work with a lot of seniors who are downsizing and moving on or whatever, and they're so surprised when they find that their kids don't want the china, they don't want the china closet that the china goes in, they don't want the silver. So it's a whole different ball game when they have to let go of their memories and their treasures that are important to them, because children or family or friends don't want the things. And you're right, exactly. You spend the first half collecting stuff and the last 10 years or so getting rid of it. And you wonder why you ever even bothered to do it. But it is true.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, this is the part where you really need to start having discussions whether you're a solo ager or you're in a partnership. How are you going to, one, maintain and manage your health? How am I going to live the life that I want to as I age? Am I eating right? Am I exercising? Am I getting the nutrition? Am I seeing my doctor regularly? Who am I going to spend my time with? What will my day look like if I'm no longer working in a full-time job? How will I spend my time? And at the end of the day, the big thing right now is, am I going to have enough money to address my health, spend my time well, and what my day will look like? Am I saving enough so I'm ready for that stage of my life?
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest challenges is that a lot of baby boomers especially really are realizing, because they're the sandwich generation with older parents to take care of and teenagers and younger children still coming up through the ranks, and they don't necessarily save for retirement. And the other thing is, we don't have a clue as to what the future will be. We may live just fine, or we may have a stroke or debilitating disease that takes hold, and we don't have enough money to cover it. And it's a scary thought. So you can't really ever plan for that. You set aside money and you hope for the best, but it's very challenging.
Right. And I think it's important though to kind of write down and create this, your image board or whatever people use for this tool, but to think about what is it going to look like. I feel like, and how I got to this whole thing about different stages of adulting is growing up, I watched everyone view retirement was a finish line. I'm going to get to that finish line and everything's done. Well, you know what? It's not done. That's when actually the big work really starts to begin, because you need to learn new things. We always need to continue to grow and evolve and change as circumstances around us change. And that's where this graduate gets into, how am I going to adapt? What are my goals? If I can't reach that goal and I can't do that, how will I change? How might me do this? And the thing that brought this home to us recently for my husband and I is, so we have 2 kids. 5 years ago, my daughter had leg surgery or foot surgery. We couldn't get her up the stairs in my home. And recently my son had a knee injury, and he's having, the first week he had to stay in the guest room on the first floor because he can't get up the stairs. So you know what? This house isn't going to be right for us.
Right.
So we've been having that discussion on, when we make home improvements, we're making them for home sales. We're not making them for longevity, because we know this won't be the home for us for the rest of our life. So what does that mean? Does that mean we still want to be in this area? So are we going to get a condo? We're not going to find a 1 floor probably in
Right.
Northern Virginia.
Right.
But so what do we want that to look like? So we're having very active discussions right now, and our kids are having them with us to talk about, what will the rest of our life look like as my daughter graduates college and moves off and may not even be in the area? And how do we want to spend our time? So we're including other people in that adulting discussion, because we're in our graduate phase right now.
Yeah, I counsel a lot of clients who know that the steps are overwhelming, and I'm a certified aging in place specialist, so I help them with renovations to the home, but it's only a temporary stopgap. It's not permanent. At some point, their home will have to be sold, and they'll have to make that change. And a lot of baby boomers are saying, oh, well, I'm just going to age in place. I said, yeah, okay, fine, but make it safe for you to do so. And then when you get in your 80s and you can't take care of the house anymore, it's just too much, then you have to sell it. So maybe you should sell it sooner so that you can enjoy life and be free of all the maintenance and issues with the house that you're in. And it's a frustrating thought for people. They don't always want to think about what's going to happen to me down the road. It's very difficult for them to do that, but it is something that needs to be addressed. I absolutely agree. Well, in the last few minutes that we have, and it seems like this went by very fast, Kay, and I appreciate your being with me, talk about what it means to master adulting. I think there's going to be a lot of people listening in who want to know what that means. So talk about that.
So, well, you touched on it just when you told your story about, I want to age in place. And I think fixed thinking is the one harmful element that we have to be an adulting master. We need to be able to consider change. We need to look at that plan we made. What's my health? Am I spending time with people I want to spend time with? What are my finances? So this is the part that I see so often as I work with people that, dad wanted to stay in his home and that's all he wants to do. Well, I also see how much isolation is impacting these people. He's lost his spouse, mom passed away.
Yeah.
So he's living in his large home by himself.
Right.
Let's bring in a renter. Well, no one really wants a renter,
Right.
wants to rent in that situation. So it's being able to adapt and change your plans that give you, how do I want to spend my time? How does my health impact it? What do my finances look like? And having a larger discussion rather than being set and fixed thinking. So change creates adulting masters, and being able to make those changes as life adapts around us.
That's an excellent way to wrap up this program. I just love having you here. I think we could talk a whole nother 2 or 3 sessions on the topic, but I just want to thank you so much for joining me today. But before we leave, could you please tell people the best email or website address to reach you in case they want to follow up with you?
Sure. My website is MemoryBank, MEMORYBANC.com. So that's bank with a C. And they can email me at kay@memorybank.com. And I'd be happy to answer any questions or help them consider these changes that they're looking at in their life?
Maybe you should prepare a quiz to say, if you can do these things, you're an adult. If you can do these things, you're a master of the adulting process.
That's a good idea.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for joining me, Kay. And I look forward to maybe having you back another time so we can finish up the conversation. But thanks for joining me today.
Oh, you're welcome.